This, my friends, is the first dedicated trucking wheel. Oh yeah, but hold your brakes. Before you buy, there's a few things that I think you need to know. So let me help you out. And here she is, and she is a big girl. If we look at the Moza R5, which is kind of a more typical size of wheel that most people have, that's just the size difference right there. It's massive. We'll talk more about the size and actually some of the challenges that brings to incorporating that into your setup. But first, let's take a quick look at the wheel. So all of this around the edges, the entire wheel is all kind of has like a leather wrapping around it. It has a very, very nice feel, I have to say. And in the middle, it's more of like a plastic outer casing. All of these buttons here are indeed plastic. All here, you can hear that, but it does have a very durable aluminum interior frame. So it's not very heavy because it's aluminum. You know, it's technically metal, but it's not very heavy. So it's very lightweight, but it's very durable. So if you look at our buttons here very quickly, if I can get it focused, there we go. So on the right, you have your volume knobs, which you can map to anything you want in American Truck Sim, Euro Truck Sim, again, any game, whatever game you decide to use this for, you can map all this to anything. You have, this here's actually a dial. You can scroll that up. It endlessly scrolls up and down. You also here have a kind of like a joystick kind of thing, so you can, you can do maybe a camera with this, or whatever you need to do with. And then you have your indicator here. You have lights, settings, home. Again, all this can be whatever you want that to be. I actually don't use any. I use this as an indicator, but I don't use these two. I change what those mean. On the left side, you have some more buttons. We'll also get that in focus. Another indicator, and then a few other options. So the same thing mirrored on the other side with the dial here and the joystick, so which is nice. So on that note, with that, you also get these stickers, and you get 2 pages with various colors. So as I said, you can map anything to all those buttons, and right here you can kind of customize to have a special sticker for each of those functions. So you have some more indicator lights. You have it in yellow as well. Here's an example of what you can do with the stickers right there. So I personally haven't messed with it. I honestly don't plan to mess with it. I know that I'm gonna be changing out my buttons pretty often, and so I don't want to commit. And here is the back of the wheel. This is the quick release right here, and it's the same one that all of the other Moza wheels have. But if you don't have a Moza wheel, maybe you have a wheel from another company, there is an adapter you can buy from Moza that will allow you to connect this to other wheels. Now, what I would recommend is do a little bit more research and finding out if that specific adapter works with your specific wheel. This here is another little connection. I believe this connects to the hub. So if you are using a different brand base, you can still get the functionality by plugging it in here. Now, one of the first things and most important things that I think you need to know before buying the Moza trucking wheel is it even compatible with your setup? Like, is it gonna work for you? I'll show you my setup, but I'll say this, my setup is very specialized, so you're probably gonna be in a different case, but I'll show you what I've done to make it work for me and to make it enjoyable. So let's move on over to my driving rig. It's kind of hard to get it all in the picture in this room, but this is the Next Level Racing GT Elite rig with the flight simulator chair mounted onto the rig. And the reason why that is because I also do flight sim, and this rig allows you to mount the flight sim panels on the right and left for if you want to attach joysticks and throttles and things like that. So that is the reason why I have it as is. As I said, my setup is very specialized. But let's go ahead and move in a little closer. So we have the Moza R5 bundle here that I have with the wheel. So we have the R5 base and the wheel. Back here we have the SRP pedals. This is not a part of the Moza R5 bundle. This is something I upgraded later on, but I have the clutch on there, and these are also load cell pedals. May want to Google what that means. I don't have time to explain. And then back over here on the right side, we have our handbrake, which is I mainly use that for drifting and for rally racing. And then I have my shifter, which is actually the only thing in my setup right now that's not Moza. This is my good old reliable H pattern shifter. I really like this shifter. A lot of mod support for this, so I definitely still really recommend this. But we'll talk about the Moza shifter a bit as well, because I know a lot of people are considering getting that to go with this setup. So the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to show you what I've had to do to make this work for trucking realistically. And don't worry if you're a desktop user, like if all you have is like a desk, I have not left you out. I have some tips for you as well. So we're gonna first take this wheel off of the quick release. All right, to release the Moza R5 wheel, we can just pull back on this thing back here. Comes off very easily. Again, Moza actually has one of the best quick release systems in the whole industry. We'll put our trucking wheel on to get it on and secure it. You're gonna push your hand in the middle. There it is. All right, that's locked on. We got our big wheel on there now, and I want to show you an issue that I ran into very quickly when I attempted. So I'm gonna pull my seat back. You can actually slide the seat back there on the GT Elite chair, which is always very handy. We'll come in, sit down, and then I'm gonna scoot it back up. And I'm not sure if this translates through the video, but this is not what a trucking wheel sits like, right? It doesn't sit 90 degrees in front of you. Now it does have the 1800 degrees of turn either way, which is very realistic, and that's mainly thanks to the base and the profile, which I'll show you later as well. But yeah, so that works as well, but it doesn't sit straight up. So we need to find a way to get this wheel to angle out. So we need to be, you can either have it flat like a straight up tractor, or have it kind of like at a, you know, a nice acute angle. The other issue I run into when sitting in this particular position is that this wheel blocks basically half of my TV monitor right now. So I'm gonna take the wheel off and make some adjustments. So this here is how the wheelbase attaches to the clamp. You can see right here it has this, so you can actually tighten it. So if you want to put this on a desk, you can. It's actually very easy to do that. But this is the wheelbase right here by Moza. This is the R5, and I have it mounted with just a couple of screws. You can put, I just have 2 screws on here because I have it pushed back, but there's actually 6 slots for screws back here on the bottom of this this mount. And here on the side, you can also see, hopefully you can see that there's a couple of screws. If you unscrew these screws, you can actually rotate this. And that allows you to rotate the wheel back and forth to however it is that works best for you and your setup. So it's very easy to put together. Again, this is sold separately. But as you can see here on my setup, this is again is the GT Elite, and I've actually had it slanted. I've basically angled it almost maybe 45 degrees or so. It's pretty far slanted. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to hook this up right here. It's gonna attach it there. You just kind of screw this on right here underneath. And again, your setup might be a little different. Now you can either mount this base on top of the mount or underneath it, depending on how much space you need. So I need a bit more space here for me to sit down. If I mount it underneath, it gets like, it's basically touching my legs. So one thing to think about is making sure that it's in a spot that's comfortable for you. And so I've had to kind of play with this quite a lot, to be honest, to kind of get it in a position that I'm most comfortable with. And I feel like I've finally gotten it in a way that I like. Now this might still not work for everyone, sadly. Might not work for everyone. If you have longer legs, this might not work out too well. I did have to pull back my pedals so that I could reach them, because this is now pushing me farther back into the seat to be able to have this and my wheel. So here it is, it's now mounted. It looks a bit weird, like it's kind of pointed straight up, you know, and it's kind of angled. So again, I just had to make it work for me. So I've angled this piece and I've angled this piece, and it's kind of like in the spot that I like. So if you put this on now, you'll see, just like that, it snaps on, and you can now see how it's angled. Oh yeah, there it is, and now you can see how it's a little bit more realistic. Again, up to you, your preference on how much you want that slant to be. But where it is right now for me is pretty good. I mean, give or take. So I told you guys my setup was quite unique. And actually the reason why is because over here, I have my flight sim setup, also by Next Level Racing. This is the Boeing flight simulator chair. And this is actually what I was using for the longest for racing and driving. Even still now, from time to time I'll do some driving on it. But the way I had my Moza mounted was on this little panel right here. This is actually what I use for my flight control stick, or my yoke. And the way I did it was I had my desk clamp latched right onto that. And that's the way that I had my wheel mounted. And it was actually fairly stable on this pole here. But now with the new wheel clamp for the trucking wheel, let me show you what that looks like. So as you can see here, we might have a bit of a problem if we want to mount our trucking wheel to that. It's too small. It's not going to fit on here. Now obviously this Next Level Racing flight simulator chair was made for flight simulator and not for racing, not for driving, and I just kind of did it anyways. But and again, in this case, just want to warn you, if you have the flight simulator chair and you're doing the same thing I'm doing, this is not going to work. You can mount it with the regular desk mount, but not with this trucking wheel mount. It's a bit too wide. But what you could do is you can completely remove this panel and this pole, and you could just use your desk if you have a desk. Thankfully, I do have a desk here that's just sitting right next to it. So that's the way I would do it. You can easily get this attached to your desk though, and I think that's gonna be a great option for many, many people. Is just to go ahead and mount this straight on to your desk, just like I did with my racing rig. And there it is, it's very stable. And then all you gotta do is loosen these screws here on either side. It's very easy. They give you all the tools you need for setting this up. And look at that. You can just rotate that and have it however you like at your desk, whatever works best for you. So I think for a desk setup, I'm thinking maybe right around there. We can try that. We can tighten it on either side and then hook it up just like this. Boom. And I have to admit, it looks really good on my desk like that. Look at that. Looks really good. Now, one last thing I want to give you guys as a tip, and that is monitor size is definitely going to matter. You can see I just have a bit of an audio edit there, but I have this big old screen, so my wheel is not blocking the screen. Same thing over here. I got this big screen. And so if you have a tiny screen, it might not be as enjoyable. You know, it's a big wheel, so you're gonna want kind of a bigger screen, whether it be a gaming monitor or a TV. I have 2 TVs here, but it's kind of a thing to think about whenever you consider working on your trucking setup. So what about Logitech? Is Logitech compatible with the Moza trucking wheel? And I have to say, sadly, no. I could not find a way to make the two work together, and it seems to be it's just the 2 different quick release systems are very different, even though Moza does have its own adapter that you can buy separately to allow you to mount it to other wheelbases like Fanatec or Simucube, Camus, stuff like that. Like, you could definitely make those work, but for Logitech, it's just too different of quick releases to actually make it work from what I can find. Now, don't just take my word for it. Go out there and look yourself if you're trying to do that, or with any base, take a look and make sure that you can actually make it work with a Moza wheel before you buy, right? You don't want to waste your money on that. So just take a look, but that's what I say. I wouldn't recommend it. So yeah, good luck. Now, one of my personal favorite things about Moza is the software itself, the Moza Pit House software. You can see that now on my screen. It's extremely user-friendly. Here you can see all of your hardware in one place. You can customize it. There's even an actual mobile app you can use to go and make adjustments. You don't have to restart your game or your simulator to make changes. So as you can see on the left side, we have my trucking wheel. You can see the entire graphic with all the buttons, the steering angle, which is set to 1800 right now for trucking. We have our base here, we have our pedals. I can go down the list and I can actually customize my, my base settings. So this is actually my base settings right here. And there's a truck setting here, there's a drift, there's GT, there's karting, there's performance. You could also create your own presets. And I use this all the time. Again, you do not need to restart your simulator or your game to actually apply these. This applies directly to the base. So you can make changes just how you like it. So here's the trucking wheel. You can go and change the RPM of the LED brightness, the buttons. Then here I can change the curves of my pedals. If I press down my pedal there, you can see that's my throttle, my brake, and my clutch, and I can change how I want that to be, how I want that to feel. And of course, there's a lot of other stuff in here that I'm not gonna go over. Here's the shifter, which I don't have installed right now. Here's a sequential shifter, also not installed right now, but here's my handbrake as well. And then as far as the future, updates are extremely easy. All you gotta do is go to the update page and hit one-click upgrade all, and you just hit confirm, and that's all. And you'll see everything go through its update process, and it's just that easy. Now, again, that's why I like this software so much. So let's talk about pricing. I know a lot of people have had mixed emotions on this, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. I don't usually talk about price or specific price in my reviews for multiple reasons. One of them being that the prices change over time, and I don't wanna be inaccurate in what I say in my videos. So I usually give my thoughts on kind of the price range and if I think it's worth it. So talking about the Moza TSW trucking wheel at $299, I think if you already have a Moza base, if you're already in the Moza ecosystem, I think that's a great price. If you can see how it compares to some of the more expensive wheel, like the GT wheel, the Formula One wheel, stuff like that, the other specialized wheels, I think that's a pretty good price. Plus, you don't have to go and buy another base. You're good. Just $299. You're done. Now, if you have like a Fanatec wheel or Camus or SimuQ, something like that, then you have the ability to go down here and buy the Moza Universal Hub Kit. This will allow you to basically connect, you know, your Moza wheels, any Moza wheel, to like a Fanatec wheel, for example. And it's only going to cost you $39. So again, in that case as well, I personally think it's totally worth it. I personally really enjoy the product. I like the product. I think it's great quality, and I think it's worth $299. Now, would I like it to be closer to $200? 100%. I'm all about cheap. But I don't think it's a cheap product. It's definitely not cheap. Now, where it's going to cost you is if you don't have, you know, Moza ecosystem, you're not in the Fanatec ecosystem, you don't have a direct drive wheel, anything like that, then it might cost you a little bit more. So let's look at that. So $299 for the standalone truck wheel. Now, you're going to need a base. The way the direct drive wheel ecosystem works is that the base and the wheel always come separately, except for here where we have a bunch of bundles, which I'm recommending that that Moza will create a trucking sim bundle so you can save a little money there as well. But until then, you can get the R5 wheelbase, which is 5 Newton meters of force feedback torque. I think that's plenty for trucking. If you want more power, you can go with the R9, R16, but it's going to cost you a lot more. So let's go ahead and add an additional $299 onto that. Let's just say we're going to go with the Moza R5. It puts us at $598. Now, we also need pedals. Sadly, pedals also come separately unless you get a bundle deal. So we'll go down to the pedals. Now, you have these 3 different options. I would recommend, if you're just getting started with the trucking setup, you know you're on a budget, then go with the Moza SRP pedals. You also have the brake enhancement kit you can get, but it's going to cost you $159. Now, you're only going to get the brake and gas pedal. Remember, this is a racing company, right? A lot of cars in racing, they don't really mess with the clutch. You don't really need a clutch. But in our case, we need a clutch. We're freaking trucking out here. We need a clutch. We're gonna have to add on $39 to that. So go ahead and do that. 159er plus another $39. That will now put us at $796. So now you have yourself a wheel, a base, and pedals. That's really all you need. But hey, again, we're freaking trucking. We're gonna want, or some of us may want, a shifter. Now listen to this. If you already have a shifter and it's USB, it doesn't depend on like the wheel or the wheel base, then just use that. You don't need to go out and buy a Moza shifter unless you just like their shifter and you want their shifter. You can do that. But you know, you don't have to. This is an optional step. But we're gonna add it because we're assuming we don't have anything. So we'll add $149 for the shifter. It's gonna equal at $945. And again, that's really all you need, right? A shifter, pedals, wheel, and wheelbase. But you may also need the handbrake shifter table clamp. Again, this depends on your setup. If you have a way of mounting this somewhere, or you know, if you have your custom setup, again, it depends. But we're gonna assume you may need a desk clamp. So we go gonna add on $29 to our total. Puts us at, that's not right. That's 29.00. That puts us at $974, and then also you're gonna most likely, because you have a trucking wheel and you wanna be able to angle it in the right direction, go ahead and get yourself a clamp, the truck clamp, for another $49. That puts us at $1,023 for everything. And again, there's a lot of other little things you can add on to that, like the brake performance kit that gives you a bit stronger, stiffer brakes, but we're not gonna get into that. So this is what it's gonna cost you. And I know that sounds like a big number, especially if maybe you're coming from like a cheaper budget wheel. Remember, this is not a budget product. You can't really compare this to Logitech. This is a next level wheel. So if, you know, yes, I know you can get a whole racing wheel set up for a quarter of the price, but you're not gonna get the same quality as you're gonna get here at Moza. And that's okay. Get what you can afford. But you know, if money's not an issue or you're just trying to go all out, you can also jump over to Next Level Racing or any of the racing cockpit sites and get you a racing cockpit to fit your trucking wheel too. Probably will run you around $1,500 extra and take up a bunch of space in your room, but you're freaking trucking legit. If you do just have to go this route, I do have a discount in the description if you're looking to get a racing cockpit. And yo, I completely admit that is much more than I would personally be down to pay for a wheel right now. Thankfully, I'm already in the ecosystem, and that's what I would recommend, is get into the ecosystem. If this is something that you really do want and want to pursue, just start with the Moza R5 bundle. It's only $459. It's very competitive as far as comparing that to a lot of the other cheaper non-direct drive wheels. And this has a lot of ways to upgrade. And listen, if you're completely happy, content with the wheel you got, then why change? Why change, right? So I hope this was really helpful to you if you're considering buying the Moza trucking wheel. Again, no doubt, I love this wheel. I really enjoy it. I highly recommend it, but obviously it's not for everyone. So hopefully you'll take what I said in mind when it comes to what to expect from the Moza wheel, what to think about before buying it as far as your own setup and compatibility things. So, but anyways, let me know in the comments if you have any more questions. I'll definitely try to catch every single one and answer as many as I can. But that's enough talking. I'm ready to go back driving. Thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, you have 3 choices. Give up, give in, and give it all you got. Peace, love, and God bless you. I'm ready to go back driving. Let's go.